How does the son of a political correspondent growing up in Washington Heights go on to become a theatre phenomenon?
It is the hardest theatre ticket in America to get.
You may not have heard the name Lin-Manuel Miranda, but you would have definitely heard his work.
In the Heights.
Hamilton.
Director of Tick, Tick, Boom, original star and writer of Hamilton and In the Heights, and composer and lyricist of Moana and Disney's Encanto.
He's breathing life, creative, original, exciting life into Broadway.
So this is the inspiring story of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Lin-Manuel grew up in Washington Heights in New York, surrounded by stories, history, and of course, Broadway. From high school, he was destined for the world to know his name, performing as the lead roles and even writing his own musicals and films.
My friend Adam Rauscher and I made a 40-minute movie over the course of 3 sleepovers.
Eventually, he went off to university to study theatre, and it was during this time that he wrote a musical called In the Heights. In the Heights was a musical inspired by Jonathan Larton's Rent, and it aimed to tell the story of Washington Heights, where Lin-Manuel Miranda grew up. What made this unique is that it did it using an unconventional mix of music genres Broadway had never seen before, such as salsa and hip-hop.
It surprises me that no one has put hip-hop and Latin music into a Broadway musical before me.
The musical was first performed by his university theatre group in 1999, but after Lin-Manuel graduated in 2002, he continued to work on it. However, as an aspiring writer in one of the most expensive cities in the world, Lin-Manuel Miranda had to put in the work. He took up multiple job roles, from the likes of English teacher at his old high school to advert composer. Though in this time, he also founded a freestyle group called Freestyle Love Supreme, which played around the streets of New York and eventually started to play festivals around the world.
We are Freestyle Love Supreme.
However, it wasn't long before he began to make a name for himself. In 2007, In the Heights opened at 37 arts theatres off Broadway. The heavy amount of awards sent the production straight to Broadway, where it opened at the Richard Rodgers Theatre and went on to get a record-breaking 16 Tony nominations.
And the Tony Award for Best Score, which I already opened, goes to In the Heights.
As well as winning Grammys, Pulitzers and Drama Desk Awards. Following his success, he wrote like he was running out of time, working with theatre legend Steven Sondheim to translate West Side Story into Spanish for its 2009 revival, writing a music and lyrics for the musical adaptation of Bring It On, and he even wrote a short 15-minute musical called 21 Chump Street, which premiered in 2014 and played in New York, London and Melbourne. However, these were all just side projects for Lin-Manuel Miranda, because as soon as In the Heights opened on Broadway, in 2008 he began writing a revolutionary musical.
I'm actually working on a hip-hop album. It's a concept album about the life of someone I think embodies hip-hop, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton.
Despite announcing Hamilton in 2009, Lin-Manuel Miranda made everybody wait for it, as it wasn't until 2015 where it opened for a sold-out off-Broadway run, and it wasn't long before it moved to Broadway. In fact, it was only a couple months later that Hamilton opened on Broadway in the same theatre that In the Heights did 7 years ago.
This has been the finish line for such a long time.
This is the show to be at tonight.
It's very refreshing and honest and earnest, and Lin doesn't waste a note or a word.
It received spectacular reviews and an eye-watering number of Pulitzers, Tonys, Grammys, you name it, Hamilton won it. Everyone was desperate to catch Hamilton on stage, and also to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda.
It became very unsafe for me to leave to the stage door. I'd have little kids in the front, and even if I said, please don't rush, please don't rush, please don't rush, I'd see those kids get crushed.
By telling a forgotten branch of American history through a score which blends hip-hop, jazz, R&B and Broadway, Lin-Manuel Miranda was critically acclaimed for not only bringing a new audience to Broadway, but for also celebrating the different styles of music and casting based off talent and vision, not looks.
The show reminds us that this nation was built by more than just a few great men, and that it is an inheritance that belongs to all of us.
And it wasn't long before Hamilton's success became global. In 2017, Hamilton opened in the West End, winning 7 Olivier Awards. Multiple touring casts began to pop up around the world, and in 2020, a pro-shot version was released on Disney+. Hamilton's success continues to get recognition from very powerful people, performing at the White House on multiple occasions, and even performing for Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee party at the Palace.
Your Majesty,
The cast of Hamilton!
Despite having 3 very successful musicals on Broadway, Lin-Manuel Miranda still was not satisfied, so he turned his attention to the big screen.
The collaboration with the Disney artists is so incredible because it really is all hands on deck.
Before Hamilton premiered, Lin-Manuel was approached by Walt Disney Studios, who asked him to work on one of their upcoming projects, Moana. And when a movie makes over $6 million in box office profits, it's fair to describe it as a success. In addition to that, when Moana came out, it had the most successful soundtrack of any Disney musical ever. Lin found himself playing Jack in Mary Poppins and began writing for Disney's next big animated film, Encanto, writing 8 of the songs. While in the meantime, he also revived Freestyle Love Supreme and took them to Broadway. Encanto went on to beat Moana as the most successful Disney soundtrack ever. It even spent 9 consecutive weeks at #1 in the US Billboard 100. However, if we move away from writing, Lin-Manuel Miranda recently made his directorial debut as he directed Tick Tick Boom, the story of Jonathan Larson, his inspiration's life, for Netflix in 2021. Lin-Manuel Miranda has already done so much in his life, but there is no sign of him slowing down. He's just released a new musical called New York, New York with other writers and composers, and he's just finished working on Disney's new adaptation of A Little Mermaid, which is coming out later this year. There's just no telling how far he will go, but I'm sure he's got so much more in store for us.